This is All India Radio, the news read by Subhadra Ramachandran. Finance Minister P. Chidambaram today said the Income Tax Department will come out with final guidelines by the end of this month on implementation of General Anti-Avoidance Rules, GAR. The guidelines will be based on the suggestions of the committee headed by tax expert Parthasarathy Shome, who submitted the final report to the minister earlier in the day. Speaking to reporters in New Delhi, Mr. Chidambaram expected that Stage 1 finalization of views on the final report by the Shome committee will take place in the next 10 days. He said Stage 2, the final GAR rules, would take another 10 days as that would require vetting by the Law Ministry. The minister said Finance Ministry would first finalize its report on GAR and then consider if there was a necessity to mend the Income Tax Act. The Shome Committee had in its draft report recommended postponement of the controversial tax provision by 3 years to April 1, 2016 and abolition of capital gains tax on transfer of securities. Mr. Chidambaram said the other report by the Shome Committee on indirect transfer of assets by non-resident Indians would be put up on the ministry's website for comments. India is in the process of ratifying the Nagoya Protocol on biodiversity, which largely speaks about providing access and benefit sharing on resources. In the meantime, the country has made some provisions in the legislation to take precautions while dealing with genetically modified crops and related issues. Union Environment and Forest Special Secretary Farooqi stated this at a press conference on the first day of the International Conference on Biodiversity in Hyderabad today. He exuded hope that the protocol ratification process will be completed soon, stating that the country was one among the few countries to make legislations in tune with the Nagoya Protocol. The Special Secretary informed that the country has entered into agreements with about 100 organizations for utilizing bioresources from India. He said the government has spent 300 crore rupees so far for setting people's biodiversity registers in the country. The government is committed to conserve the country's unique wildlife, forests and its variety of ecosystems. In his message on the occasion of Wildlife Week, Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh called upon the people, especially the young, to join in the noble endeavour of conserving and protecting the wildlife and maintaining the ecological integrity of the nation. He asked the people to actively pursue a conservationist lifestyle to maintain the country's biological diversity. He said that India's glorious natural heritage must be nurtured and passed on to the future generations. Dr. Singh said that every citizen has to be required to actively pursue a conservationist lifestyle. He said that everyone needs to ensure that gradually the various facets of conservation get embedded in all developmental activities. The Supreme Court today dismissed a plea challenging the Comptroller and Auditor General CAG's power to conduct performance audit of the controversial allocation of coal blocks by the UPA government. Observing that the CAG is not a munim or accountant, a bench of Justices R.M. Lodha and A.R. Dave said the CAG is a constitutional authority entitled to review and conduct performance audit on revenue allocations relating to the centre, the states and the union territories. The Apex Court said it was for the Parliament to consider, accept or reject the CAG's findings. A Delhi court today paved the way for trial of Wasim Akram Malik for his alleged role in the terror attack at the Delhi High Court last year, framing charges against him under the anti-terror law. The court said there was prima facie evidence to frame charges against Malik under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, the Indian Penal Code and the Explosive Substance Act for the September 7, 2011 terror attack at the High Court's reception in which 15 people were killed and 79 others were injured. The Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange rose 61 points to 18,824 and hopes that the government will soon announce more economic reforms and amid positive European markets today. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange gained 16 points or 0.3% to 5,719. And that's the end of this news bulletin.